So this is going to be the Chapter 2, Chapter 3 review for test number 2. So I would recommend pausing the video when a problem comes up, trying it yourself, and then checking to see if you get the same answer as me. So if we're looking at this, we're solving and finding the missing angles. Okay, so since these angles sit across from each other, we know that they're vertical angles. Okay, vertical angles are always congruent by the vertical angle theorem. So if they're congruent, it means they are the same, which means we can set them equal to each other. So I got 3x plus 6 equals 90, and we can solve it. So subtract 6, so 3x equals 84. Divide both sides by 3, so we know x is going to equal 28. Okay, so if I plug it in, since they are congruent, they should be the same. So if I do 3 times 8 plus 6, we should get, or 3 times 28, sorry. So we should get the exact same answer, so we should get 90 over here. So we got 3 times 28. So 8 times 3, 24, 6, 7, 84. And then 84 plus 6 should give me 90 degrees. So our x in that situation equaled 28, and my missing angle equaled 90 degrees. Okay, so we're going to solve the proof. So right now it looks like we have a possible angle bisector, but we're not sure because it doesn't show that those two angles are congruent. So the measure of angle ABC, so this whole angle, is 80 degrees. Okay, so the measure of angle ABD plus DBC should equal the big one, because remember, two small angles added together should equal my big one. So then we use substitution to fill in those two missing angles here. Now we got to figure out what A is. So it looks like from step A, they added 3x and 6x and 5 and 8. So they are combining like terms, okay, because they did not add on both sides. It is combining like terms. Okay, so then going from this step to this step, it looks like they subtracted 8 to get 72. So we know this is the subtraction property. Sorry, my handwriting's really bad. And then from this step to this step, they divided both sides by 9, so division property. Okay, so it looks like it says xy is congruent to yz. If they're congruent, that means they're the same, which means we can set them equal to each other. So they use the substitution property after the given statement to substitute those in for the missing lengths. And then the next step, it looks like we have a 2m, so it looks like they subtracted 6m from both sides. So it's going to be subtraction property. Okay, then they subtracted 5 from both sides to get 12, so subtraction property again. And then they divided both sides by 2 to get 6, so division property. Sketch a picture of skew lines. Give a real-life example of a pair of skew lines. So if I wanted to do a 3D picture here, okay, a skew line would be this and this. Okay, they cannot be parallel. So in that picture, they are not parallel. They can't be parallel, and they cannot intersect. So they cannot run into each other. So real life example, you could think of if you have a road and you have a bridge on top of it, they never intersect in the same plane, and they're never parallel to each other. So if you have one road going this way and another one going this way, but one is a bridge on top of it, then they never really intersect, and they're never parallel. Sketch a pair of parallel lines. So here are some parallel lines. I'm going to put my little arrows on them to show that they're parallel. So you can think of a railroad track, the outside of doors. So if you have a door here, that is parallel. Also, those two are parallel. So there's a lot of parallel lines. So if AD equals 71, find the value of y, AB, BC, and CD. So this whole thing here is 71. Okay, remember, all of these small angles or small lengths, line segments, I could add together and set it equal to my big one. Just like if I had two small angles, I could add them together and set it equal to my big one by the line segment. So I got 4y minus 5 plus 4y plus 5y minus 2 equals my big one. So I got 8y plus 5, so 13y and negative 7. Add 7 to both sides. So I got 13y equals 78 divided by 13. Y is 6. So we have our y being 6, but I need to find all of these. So I'm going to erase my work because I already found y. Okay, so now if I want to find, one of them is AB, so this length. So AB should equal, if I plug my y in, whenever I see a y, I should get my missing length. So 4 times 6 is 24, minus 5 is 19. So AB is 19. BC is my next one, so if I have BC equals 4, plug in my y that I found. So BC should equal 24. And CD is 5 times the y I found, minus 2. 5 times 6 is 30. 30 minus 2 is 28. So this, is 28. And if I added them all together, which if I do that, I will get 71 as my answer. Okay, when we were trying to find the nth term, so if I'm going from this one to this one, it looks like I am adding 10. This one to this one, I'm adding 10. This one to this one, I'm adding 10. So if I add 10 onto that, I should get 24. Add 10 onto that, I should get 34. Add 10 onto that, I should get 44. So I'm trying to find the nth term. So if I am relating this to y equals mx plus b, my m is what I'm moving. So I am moving 10 each time. So I'm going to replace that with 10. So I got y equals 10x plus b. Okay, now I need a point because I'm trying to find an equation. So let's say we pick this as my point. Let's pick an easier one. Let's pick 3, 4. So 3, 4 is my point. We're going to plug it in like our x and y. So I'm going to get 4 equals 10 times 3 plus b. We got to solve. Subtract 30. So b I have as being negative 26. So we got to rewrite our equation in terms of a sub n. So I'm going to get a sub n equals 10 times n minus 26. Now if I plug things in, I should get the answers right. So let's try 414 and see if we get the same output. So a sub n equals 10 times 4 minus 26. 10 times 4 is 40. 40 minus 26 is 14. Okay, so now we can find, so this equation goes in here because it's in terms of n, and now we can find our 50th term by plugging 50 in for n. So I'm going to erase this. So I'm going to get a sub n equals 10 times 50 minus 26. So 10 times 50 is 500, minus 26 is 474. Okay, so the answer here is 474. So you're just plugging it in. Whatever you're moving, you're plugging in for m. Whatever your point is that you pick, you plug in for x and y, you solve, and rewrite your equation in terms of n. Okay, complete the missing statements or reasons. If E is the midpoint of DF, that means these two should be congruent, because whenever we have midpoints, we have congruent things. DE, so this whole thing, is 22. That is what we're trying to prove. Okay, so 3, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9. If E is the midpoint of DF, that is by line segment addition. Oh, sorry, that is given. Oops, getting ahead of myself. So that is given. Okay, so the next one, definition of midpoint, shows me that those two sides are congruent because it is the definition of midpoint. So DE is congruent to EF. Okay, and then we are replacing things. Whenever you replace something, we are using the substitution property. Okay, going from 3 to 4, it looks like my x has changed, so I subtracted 7x. So subtraction property. My next step, we're adding something, okay? So it looks like we're going to have to add 8, because it looks like the only thing that we can add is adding 8. So I'm going to get 9 equals 3x. we're dividing something, so if I divide both sides by 3, I should get 3x. Okay, number 7, I'm saying that DE equals 7x plus 1, because that is given right here, DE equals 7x plus 1. So if I put, oops, that should be 3 equals x, sorry. So if I substitute 3 in for x, we're replacing something, so substitution property. And then I get 21 plus 1, and I have to add to get 22, so addition property. Okay, I'm trying to find A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, and L. Whew. Okay, so B, I'm going to change colors here. B is a vertical angle of 135, so we know B is 135. We can find A because it's a supplementary angle, so I can take 180 minus 135 to get A, which is 45 degrees. Vertical angle of A is C, so that one's also 45 degrees because vertical angles are always congruent. Corresponding to 135 is D. Corresponding angles are always the same, so 135. Then we can get E based on that because it's a supplementary angle, so 45 degrees. So after E, F and D, or F and E are corresponding angles, so F and E should be the same, so 45 degrees. And then G and F are supplementary, so G is 145 degrees. So now we're going to move to the next part. So it looks like M and 120 are corresponding, so M should equal 100, oops, JKL. So M should equal 120 because corresponding angles are the same. And then N, right here, we have a supplementary angle, so 180 minus 120 should give me 60 degrees, so we got N. L is got that little square in it, so we know that that represents 90 degrees. This creates a 180 degree angle, so we can take 30 from 180 to get K. So K should be 150. We got H over here. H is a corresponding angle to B, so B should be the exact same as H, and B is 135. And I do not have an I and J, so I'm just going to cross those out. So you're going to have to use the different corresponding angles, vertical angles, and stuff like that to find your missing angles. Inductive versus deductive reasoning. Okay, deductive reasoning is going to be a valid reasoning. Oops, reasoning. Okay, so it's going to be like a hypothesis that you prove true. Inductive is going to be a broad generalization. Okay, it can be true, it can be proven true, so it can be false. I mean, it can be proven true, it can also be proven false, so, but it can be false. Okay, I recommend studying this because it could pop up on the test, hint, hint. Parallel planes. Okay, so if I'm looking for a parallel plane, let me get my highlighter. Okay, so I need, let's pick this plane. I want a plane that is parallel. Parallel things never intersect anywhere. So a parallel plane to that is going to be that. Okay, planes we always label with at least 3 letters, and they have to be capitalized. Okay, so if I wanted to label this with all 4 letters, I could do AEBF is parallel to, and then I have to name my plane down here, so DHGC. Okay, so you always capitalize them, there are no lines with them, but you have to have at least 3 letters that are in that plane in that when you label it. Parallel lines, so again, they cannot intersect. So let's say, whoops, let's say we pick BC, so if I'm picking line, so if I made that a line, so if I pick line BC, it's also parallel to FG. It is also parallel to AD. It's also parallel to EH. Okay, they never intersect, but they ride on the same plane. Okay, intersecting lines. So lines that intersect to each other, or intersecting planes, I guess. So if I want to do an intersecting line, so say I pick BC, so BC intersects, okay, we could say FB, we could say AB, we could say CD or DC, we could say GC. Okay, so it's just a line that it is running into. But if we wanted intersecting planes, so say I pick plane A, B, D, C. Okay, so that intersects plane E, F, B, A. It also intersects plane H, D, C, G. Also intersects plane B, F, C, G. Also intersects plane E, H, A, D. E, H, A, D. Okay, so just different planes that they are running into. Okay, they also intersect different lines. So you could have said this plane intersects this line, this line, this line, this line. Okay. Oop, we just did intersecting planes. Okay, skew lines, skew lines. They are not parallel. Never parallel. And they never intersect. Okay, so if I pick CG, so CG is skew to, so it cannot be parallel and it cannot run into it. So EH is an option. AD is an option. Okay, because they are not, CG is not parallel to AD and they're never going to run into each other. Also, EF is an option because it is not parallel to it and it will not run into it.